Wait, no one's in.
It's a lot. It looks a lot. It's like more than double.
Mark, we're good?
I am.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our October 25th Portsmouth Town Council meeting. We'll begin with the pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence for the men and women serving.
Is to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, just need to begin with a little housekeeping. For those of you in the event of emergency, you would exit out either the two doors to the side or the front. We would be across the street at the school administration building and wait for questions. Next item, a little more housekeeping. We are live streaming as well, so we would be taking outside participation at home through Zoom. An icon to indicate if you're calling in by phone. Star 9 will indicate no question. Star 6 will allow you to mute and unmute your phone. If you're participating remotely or in person tonight, and you're called to the podium, please address to the town clerk. That we will begin.
Ms. Abbott? Here. Mr. Hamilton?
Here.
Mr. Katzman?
Here.
Mr. Kelly?
Here.
Dr. Ryan?
Here.
Mr. Aguirre?
Here. Well, President's executive summary. Prior to our meeting tonight, an executive session was held under Rhode Island General Law 42.65A2 litigation versus the town of Portsmouth. No votes were taken. 2 hours sent with the bills.
Move to accept as business. Approve, sorry, approve as business. Second.
All those in favor?
Ms. Abbott? Aye. Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Katzman? Sorry.
Aye.
Throw me off. Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Dr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre?
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Next we have
6-0.
6-0. So he's sitting at board of license. First item, the Ken Smith County license. I'm sorry.
Mr. President, I forwarded this on to this meeting just to check with the police chief. Everything's okay with the facility.
President, members of the council, I met with Mr. Breyer on Friday. We're satisfied with the other measures he has in place. I have no objection.
Chief,
Second.
all those in favor?
Ms. Abbott? Aye. Mr. Katzman?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Dr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre?
Aye.
I'm keeping you guys on your toes.
Motion passes 6-0.
And excuse me, Mr. President, Mr. Breyer does have his hand. If you'd like to speak.
Okay, he's in jeopardy now. We already approved it.
Would you like?
Mr. Breyer?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to be here in case you had any questions. But I see you've approved it, so I thank you very much.
Hang on, I'm gonna change,
Our own settings.
yes, we changed the settings back to what we usually have, so let's change them back to what they.
Hello?
Okay, Mr. Breyer,
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Breyer.
Yes, I just wanted to be here to answer any questions, but I see you've approved my request, so I appreciate it. And that's really it.
Okay, well, thank you. Love your business.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
So did,
So motion to do.
motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn with Board of Less.
Second.
All those in favor?
Ms. Abbott? Aye. Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Capson?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Dr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre?
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. Next item is minutes from our October 12th meeting.
Move to approve is presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Ms. Abbott? Aye. Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Capson?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Dr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre?
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. Next, we have tax vouchers. Tax voucher 2021 1025-01.
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Ms. Abbott? Aye. Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Capson?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Dr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre?
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. And moving on to our town administrator report, Mr. Raymond.
Good evening, Mr. President, Town Council, ladies and gentlemen. Sadly, I have to report that Grace Kinnaman passed away last week. Grace, as we all know, accomplished much in her life, and many here will remember her as a founding member and former chair of the Glen Park Committee. In 2016, she was awarded the Portsmouth Award for her years of selfless dedication to the park and our town. I'm sure she will be sorely missed. National Grid will file a supplemental petition with the Energy Facility Siting Board, the EFSB, in early 2022. A stakeholder update was provided to the National Grid Equipment Advisory Group earlier this month, which outlays their anticipated long-term approach to the natural gas capacity constraints and vulnerabilities on Quinnipiac Island. National Grid has accepted my invitation to provide their update to the town council, and they will do so at the November 8th council meeting. With respect to the COVID vaccine for 15 to 18-year-olds, we anticipate that vaccine for children in that age group will soon be authorized. When that occurs, we expect that the Rhode Island Department of Health will work with the school department to provide vaccinations likely to occur in mid-November.
Just for clarification, 5 to 11.
I'm sorry.
Unless I stand corrected. Did I hear it wrong?
No,
No, you heard it right.
Okay.
Everybody at home,
Oh,
it was 5 to 11. 5 to 11. 5 to 11. I'm sorry about that. The state expects to work with pediatricians, state-run sites, pharmacies, and schools to distribute the vaccine. However, due to the complexities associated with conducting the COVID vaccination clinic for 5 to 11-year-olds, and the ability of our staff and volunteers to handle the wide-ranging medical and behavioral issues that we expect to arise during that kind of a clinic, this will not be a clinic that will be run by town staff. Additionally, last week, we were notified that the Bureau of Justice Assistance has awarded Portsmouth $9,500 through the Patrick Leahy Bulletproof Vest Partnership. These funds will be used by the police department to augment our bulletproof vest maintenance and phase replacement program. And then lastly, one additional thing, we were informed today that the Portsmouth Police Department is being awarded a simulated impaired driving experience teaching tool by the Newport County Prevention Coalition. This tool is a behind-the-wheel driving experience that makes the dangers of impaired driving real during a simulated experience on a custom-built electric cart. The simulation unit will be used to educate youth during hands-on experience about the dangers of driving under the influence as well as the dangers of distracted driving. The total cost of the simulation unit is valued at $38,053 and includes an enclosed trailer for the unit as well as 30 months of maintenance. There will be no cost to the town for this grant. Mr. President, that concludes my report.
thank you, Mr. Raymond. Okay. Moving on to the removals, resignations, appointments. First item is removal from solid waste recycling committee. Question
President, I like to move to table this, purely because it doesn't say in the communication that it was actually voted on by the committee. It clearly states it was discussed. So I'd like to table this until next week.
They discussed and there was general agreement that this ought to be done at the meeting.
At our meeting.
At the solid waste recycling.
Did they take an action? And was it on their agenda?
No, it was announced by the chairman with general agreement to the present. I don't think they, as I recall, they did not formally take a vote, but Ms. Weisinger hasn't attended a meeting, the committee in almost 2 years. So it seems that de facto she's resigned.
Well, with that information, I feel a bit more comfortable.
Well, but also one of the steps is to contact the person.
Yeah, they've definitely talked.
Chairman, I withdraw my motion.
Ted tends not to do stuff under the table. That's kind of the opposite.
A motion to approve the removal of this one.
Second.
Thank you for service. Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Ms. Abbott? Aye. Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Capson?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Dr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre?
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. Next, we have appointments. We have an appointment for the Aquatic Island Planning Commission. Agency finish out the term that expires on 6/22. The applicant is Steve Johnson. Move to approve, Mr. Johnson.
Second.
All those in favor?
Ms. Abbott? Aye. Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Capson?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Dr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre?
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. And we have a reappointment for the Economic Development Committee for Ray Kelly. Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Ms. Abbott? Aye. Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Capson?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Dr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre?
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. And we also have a reappointment to the Housing Authority, Mr. Gary Young.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Ms. Abbott? Aye. Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Capson?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Dr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre?
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. Next, we'll be moving on to old business. First item, you want to run to Canada.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, council members. I just wanted to come before you one more time prior to our upcoming election on November 2nd and be available in case there are any remaining questions. So I thought this evening I would just read a brief letter to the editor that I submitted should be running in local publications this week on behalf of the school department. We are grateful to the residents of Portsmouth who have taken the time to learn about the school facilities bond referendum voters will consider on Tuesday, November 2nd. Question 1 asks residents to support investment in all 4 public school buildings to protect the health and safety of our students and staff. We have proposed investments totaling $21.4 million for critical projects such as indoor air quality, accessibility, bathroom renovations, asbestos removal, roof replacement, and traffic and pedestrian safety. If the bond referendum is successful, we will seize a brief and rare opportunity to receive 40% reimbursement from the state, specifically for school facility improvements, reducing Portsmouth's share of the cost by about $8.6 million. I extend my personal thank you to the District Building Committee, our partners in town government, and others who have worked tirelessly to design a fiscally responsible plan that provides our students, families, and staff with the safe, healthy learning environments they deserve. Please vote on November 2nd, if you have not done so already, to let your voice be heard in this important decision about the future of Portsmouth. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kingwood. Any questions, comments?
Thank you.
Okay, next item, will be our monthly financial report.
Council, as of the end of August, the town is now 2 months or 16.67 into fiscal year 2022. Year-to-date general fund revenues are at 22% of the total budgeted revenues. Revenue related to real estate transfer fees is trending higher than budget. The rate is increasing effective January 1st, 2022 to include an additional tax on sales rate of $800,000. As a result, the projected revenue has been adjusted to $700,000 from $500,000. Ambulance revenue, on the other hand, is trending lower than budget. This is due to the emergency room visits for non-critical services declining due to COVID. The projected budget for these services has been adjusted downward to $625,000 from $775,000. Year-to-date general fund expenditures is at 16% of budgeted expenditures, which is right on track with budget. Insurance premiums came in over budget by approximately $30,000, and the projected budget for finance department reflects this increase. Increase in premiums is offset by the net increase in projected revenues for transfer.
Questions? Motion to receive and place on file.
Second.
All those in favor?
Ms. Abbott? Aye. Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Capson?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Dr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre?
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. Okay, moving on to new business. First item is a request to amend the 2014 resolution. Approving this increase in municipal appointments for the Planning Commission Board to allow a third 3-year term. We have
Marco Macho here, attending.
Hello?
Hold on 1 second, Mr. Marshall.
Okay.
Would you like me to elevate him to a panelist?
Yes.
Okay. Join us. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
We got you. We were just trying to get you elevated in status.
Okay. Oh, great. Excellent.
Okay.
Appreciate that. Okay, great. Members of the town council, thank you very much for first off appointing Mr. Stephen Johnson earlier in the day. We greatly appreciate that. And despite mourning the loss of the late Keith Humphreys, Mr. Johnson is going to be a great addition to the Quinnipiac Island Planning Commission and for the town of Portsmouth. So thank you for that. Moving on to the issue with the 2014 municipal appointments as written in your resolution. Our board, upon meeting and looking at the actual appointments, in particular for the town of Portsmouth, realized that we were going to have one appointment that was needed because of the passing away of Mr. Humphreys, but we also had two open appointments, one with a vacancy from Kathleen Wilson, whose term expired on June 9th of 2021, and Sarah Churgan, who will not be renewing because it is her second term as of June 9th, 2022 as well. So what we're looking at is an issue of continuity that in the next 7 months, we do have 3 new faces for the board of directors, which is perfectly fine. But a question did come up because it is a little different than what the other 2 municipalities do. Portsmouth has made a decision to roll from June to June with at least 1 new appointment. And with Mr. Johnson, as of tonight, filling Mr. Humphrey's former seat until June 9th, 2022, which is perfectly fine. It's well within your right, according to our bylaws, to do that. You have 100% power and authority over who you appoint and when you appoint it, when you appoint such person. I would say that we will be looking to reappoint Mr. Johnson effective for a full 3-year term come June 2022. But it did raise the issue of having continuity. Relative to Dr. Wilson, her time at Rhode Island DOT with us and with your own planning board made her an indispensable part of the team. Unfortunately, I have to tell you tonight that Ms. Wilson can stay on until a new appointment is made by you, the town council, and she's perfectly willing to do that to continue with continuity on the board to make sure that you have 4 votes on the board at all times. but she will not be seeking a full third term. Now, so I guess that makes tonight kind of a moot point, but we wanted to be proactive on this because we will have 3 appointments in 7 months with a fourth appointment the following year when Mr. Bob Andrews comes off in 2023. And that would be the end of his second term. And he's another gentleman that we would actually like to maintain for continuity as well. So we just wanted to get your thoughts as members of the town council as to whether or not this would be something you are amenable to, or if you wanted to continue down the same path. Again, it's completely up to you. This board serves the town of Portsmouth. Your appointees are made directly by you, and we work for you, not against you, certainly.
Okay, so the question that you, I was trying to track that, are you concerned with the term limit of the 2 consecutive terms?
Yes, yes, sir. Specifically the 2 consecutive terms.
Right. And we're the only community that has that limitation, or Middletown and Newport do something different, correct?
Correct. Middletown and Newport both reserve the right to appoint for additional terms. Now, again, pursuant to our bylaws in the AIPC, we do not specify any term limit. To provide for turnover within the organization, we provide for 3-year terms. Now, that's open to the individual town or city's interpretation of when they want to do that. The town of Portsmouth does it by June 9th of every year. So at least one rolls over. On 2022, 2 appointments will roll over. The other 2 municipalities just do 3 years from the time of appointment itself. Again, we don't have any objection with rolling over year to year if Portsmouth is comfortable with that and likes that changeover. The biggest issue is just the 3rd term. There is precedence. Both Middletown and Newport have appointed 1 member each to a 3rd term, but it's not something that we certainly abuse. On our end, it is an issue where we take into consideration the person's net asset to the organization and what they bring in as far as what the municipalities have us working on. So it really comes down to that, and the discretion certainly is with the councils. You don't have to automatically do it for a 3rd term, and the way it's written as resolution here, we are limited to 2 terms. And by the way we read it, I'm not even sure if that's a non-consecutive with Portsmouth. There may be members who have served on this board in the past, but have hit their 6-year mark, but have been off for a few years, who could possibly return. So we're not exactly clear on that as to the way the resolution is written as of 2014.
Comments or questions from Karen?
Okay.
It had a sentence that the council would remove the limited to consecutive 3-year terms. Or we can add a sentence to amend that for extended at the vice council or direction of the council. I personally think that some terms should some continuity is a thing. Kate is a huge asset. Yes. DOT planning. 6 years is a pretty long time. Long period. And I don't think by that wording there's any reason that she couldn't be appointed the following year and year after that. Just as you shall be limited to that. I would read it one way, I'm sure other lawyers read it another way, saying that's it. When you plug your president once, twice in a row.
Common reading, I think. A common reading through, it's just 2 consecutive terms, not 2 consecutive terms. So we wish to sort of harmonize the resolution with to amend that resolved paragraph 3 to say 3-year terms. Unless, unless further approved by the council. So, but that's, it still has a limitation. You have to come back to the council.
We could make it free, basically, but additional terms could be approved by a supermajority vote of the council.
2/3.
So it's not just majority, so it would be 5-2 instead of 4-3. So just an additional, a continuation here, where it says shall be limited to 2 consecutive 3-year terms unless approved by a supermajority of council to add additional terms.
I'm okay with it, if I may. I'm okay with the super majority, but I think it's spelled out as 5. Because fractions, 2/3 is 6. So,
Right, but technically a supermajority tonight would be 4.
true.
So if you spell out 5, it's only 4. Yeah. You could avoid somebody.
Good point.
Unless approved, unless otherwise, I'm just trying to, otherwise approved.
More than simple majority. Which means one more.
Same as super. I'm just kidding.
No, it's more than simple majority. Applies, doesn't have to be any higher.
So I'm okay with if we provide some language to say unless otherwise approved by a simple majority of the council, we're either gonna. Greater than simple majority. Greater than simple majority. That's happy with that. Approved by greater than a simple majority. Generally speaking, most appointments are unanimous.
Correct.
The last one that wasn't was yours, but. I'm in nature, I can't erase, so I'm limited. My skills are limited.
I'm sure the purpose,
All this standard now. All right, so the suggested modification to the be it further resolved paragraph. Immediately following 2 consecutive 3-year terms, comma, unless otherwise approved by greater than a simple majority of the council. That's, I'm going to redate that to today. Make that a motion. Second. All those in favor?
Ms. Abbott? Aye. Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Capson?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Dr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre?
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you all.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Flexibility. Okay. Next, it's just a review and assign the town council liaison positions vacated by Mr. Buttermeyer. There were 3 positions, Parks and Recs, School Building Committee, and West Side Redevelopment Authority or Committee.
Side, west side development advisory. Mr. President, I have in the past served as liaison to West Side. We don't have to do that role, I'll pick that role back up. As to the Parks and Rec position that Mr. Butler was the agent, I understand Mr. Kelly is doing quite a bit of work focusing on the areas expressed interest. I'm happy to pick up Mr. Buttermeyer's workload, or to another council.
Mr. Kelly's already visiting the meetings and has taken on the mantle of fixing all of our parks.
He's all, and that is how he has been expressing an interest in.
Now he gets to do official. I guess
That's right.
He can be an official liaison and
I
then,
have to.
you
Sounds good.
school building committee,
Um,
which is pretty much done. I don't, well, we'll see what happens.
Start
See what happens next week.
So I'm not aware of who else on the council may directly involved in those things. I'm happy to pick up that workload unless somebody else. is.
And well, the question is the committee going to continue on during the construction process?
Yes, so obviously pending the vote on Tuesday, we need to move in one direction or another, so we will be reconvening some sort of committee.
We're still thinking, there's still work to be done.
Happy to do it.
Okay. We don't really need any votes, it's just.
No, but for discussion, I had a request from, and I can't do it next, next meeting, the Economic Development Committee would like another liaison. So I would support that. But we can't do it tonight because it's not advertised, so I'll put it in the next meeting. And add an additional liaison, so if anybody wants to jump in there, let me know. I would do it, but I think I'll be traveling way too much. Next week must be effective.
What's the meeting set?
The third Wednesday. Wednesday, first. I should know.
Wednesday.
Third Wednesday.
Maybe that's why you gave me some.
No.
So I'll put that on the agenda for next meeting, where to add another liaison. Ruby, the EDC. Excellent, thank you.
Okay. So let's go to business number 3. It's a request approval for extension of the Glen Manor House Supervision Managed Contract. Trey?
Mr. President, in accordance with the base contract, the resident managers are allowed 2 one-year extensions. The base contract ends at the end of December. They have opted to exercise that portion of the contract, which allows them to extend for 1 year. We anticipate that this will be their last year. We've already started evaluating the request for information, and probably within the next month, we will issue an RFP after we discuss with the council with regard to what happens with Glen Manor House post Katie and Tom. So for now, we're asking that you approve this 1-year extension.
So moved. Seconded.
All those in favor?
Ms. Abbott? Aye. Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Capson?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Dr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre?
Aye. Motion passes 6-0.
Just a couple of comments on the contract and going forward for the council to think about. I talked to Katie last week, it's 110 weddings booked for next year.
Nice.
And part of our contract is 3 or 6 months of training of the replacement. So we need to start thinking, as Mr. Rainey was mentioning, about getting our PEQ, whatever you want to call it, out there, so that we can get somebody on board, an entity on board from this, because it's the 3rd or 4th largest revenue generator for that.
Yeah. Get that out. Beginning of the year, get that lined up. Okay. All right. Next item is number 4. It's a request for public hearing on proposed revisions to the town code chapter 24. And it's burning outdoor. G4.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the council. I'm here before you to, once again, adjust our burn ordinance. It wasn't that long ago that we made some well-needed updates. And through this last season, it's worked out very well, but we did find a little snafu again. And so you have a draft copy before you. The main concern was section 124-4 regarding bonfires. We've had a couple of instances where they were rather large, so I want to try and limit this. I did not put a specific size in there purposely. My additions would be bonfires shall be limited in size based upon location, anticipated attendance, and available access for the fire department. Size limits will be determined by the fire chief or his or her designee. I wanted to reserve sizing. There could come a day when the town wants to have a big ceremonial bonfire, and it's going to be 30 feet by 30 feet, and it's in a proper location, has access, plans are made. So I didn't want to limit it to a specific size. But if someone wants to have a bonfire, we're going to go out to the location beforehand and determine what would be an appropriate size. The second portion of the 124-6, under the open fire, we realized that we had setbacks denoted in the following section, contained burning, yet we didn't on open burning. So that is just to make the regulation more in line each section, that if you're going to have an open burn on the property, you have to maintain a certain setback from fences, property lines, structures, and so forth. With the caveat, if you couldn't maintain that setback, you could call the fire department, we'll go out and inspect it. If you didn't have 50 feet, but you had 48, and we looked at it and we deemed it okay, and we allowed it. So respectfully asking that you approve these changes to the burn ordinance.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, this is just a request. I move we approve the schedule of the public hearing.
Second, Paul has policy and practice for a number of years. One ad in the paper for a public hearing at any ordinance. It's not required by the charter or by law, but that's been the policy of the town.
So we could have this. Date. Second meeting of November.
So what date?
Second meeting of the second.
Second.
22nd.
Or November 22nd.
So it's getting public hearing.
Thank you.
Seconded by Dr. Kemp. All those in favor?
Ms. Abbott? Aye. Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Capson?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Hey.
Dr. Ryan?
Aye.
And Mr. Aguirre?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-1.
That's what I think.
All right, moving on to correspondence.
Move to receive and place on file.
Second.
All those in favor?
Ms. Abbott? Aye. Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Capson?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Dr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre?
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. Future meetings, November 8th, November 22nd, and December 13th.
Mr. President, I move to adjourn.
On second.
All those in favor?
Ms. Abbott? Aye. Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Capson?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Dr. Ryan?
Aye.
Mr. Aguirre?
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you all. And, we'll see you on the 8th.
Thank you.
All right.
Indeed. Yeah,